Welcome in, Hunt and Hill on a Thursday from the Mercedes-Benz at Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. I am Hunt Palmer. He is Hill. Jeremy Hill, Casey Gaines, and Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos. Mr. Hill, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I get to watch some Joey B tonight, man. It's redemption time. We got to get to 500, so it's a big game tonight.
Joe B versus Tua.
Oh, yeah. We know how that went last
before.
time. Yep, we know how that went last time.
My behavior in my living room, I would call questionable at best, deplorable at worst. I was by myself. I was just a madman. The language was profane. The calories burned was probably elevated. It was quite a scene in the Palmer house that night by myself. But we got it done. And hopefully Joe gets it done tonight against the Dolphins. But we're not going to spend much time in the next 2 hours talking about that one. We'll mention it, but we're not going to spend too much time on that. A lot of LSU Auburn here over the next 30 minutes. I think it's time to have a little Andy Dalton conversation at 1:30. Thankfully, I have someone who shared a huddle with him a lot of times. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Jason Caldwell from Inside the Auburn Tigers has been joining me on the air for like 6 years now on the pregame show. So for me, at this point in my career, to have anyone who's been coming on yearly for 6 years, I appreciate him for taking some time. He will join us at 2 o'clock, as we always do on Thursday. Best win and worst loss on the board in college football and the NFL coming up at 2:30. Look, I'm pretty, consistent with this. We're not going to dive too deep into Saturday's matchup, Monday, Tuesday. You start to look Wednesday, Thursday, it's here. It's time to start talking LSU and Auburn and get inside the numbers, some of the matchups. And so I just took a big picture view of Auburn at this point offensively. I have some thoughts on what I watched on tape from their quarterbacks last night, and we'll get to that in the next segment. But just from a statistical perspective, this Auburn team, I don't think they're skewed too significantly. Penn State's a good team that they played them at home. They played a team last week in Missouri who's a Power 5 team. It's not all that great, but is a Power 5 team. And then they played a couple teams that aren't very good, that are lower level. And that's basically where most teams in college football are. LSU certainly is right there, and most teams are. So I don't think their statistics are grossly skewed too much by playing way more difficult competition, or like Ole Miss having not played really any competition at all. So I think Auburn's statistics are fair. This is what they're doing offensively. Their scoring offense is ranked 100th in the country. Now, keep in mind, we're talking about 131 teams here. And the bottom is like Northern Illinois, Charlotte, Florida International, UConn, Eastern Michigan. Like, they're 100th in the country out of 131 teams in scoring offense. We thought going into the season they'd be a dynamic running team. Jarquez Hunter, Tank Bixby, an offensive line that returns 4 seniors, has everybody back. They'll really run the football well. They're 57th in the country in running, so they're not setting the world on fire there. Their passing offense is 103rd. That's terrible. Their total offense is 89th in the country. Just bad. Then their offensive line, they were going to try to lean on. They're 103rd in the country in sacks allowed. They're 116th in the country. There aren't very many teams worse than Auburn at allowing tackles for loss in the backfield. And then on third downs, the worst of them all, well, almost as bad as tackles for loss, they're 114th. These are not mediocre numbers. These are bad numbers. Almost across the board, scoring, running the ball, throwing the ball, total offense, allowing sacks, tackles for loss on running plays, how you figure it out on third down. They're not doing any of it well.
Yeah, they're not. And that's kind of been the biggest thing, which is why I just think this team isn't very good. You normally do have an identity as a football team, and I think for Auburn, they have absolutely none. What can they depend on? The run game isn't there. They can't pass the ball well. They're not scoring a ton of points. They're not executing on third down. And you put all those things together, and you're just watching a bad offense try to go out there and execute on Saturday after Saturday. So if you're LSU, I think you got to continue to kind of do what a lot of these other teams have done, shut that run game down, get after passes. Kind of sounds like something Fave says every week, but that's just what you have to do. And I feel like you just match up well with them. They're struggling right now. Obviously, Finley's not, going to be playing in this game, and so you feel like their passing attack really isn't going to be, what you've seen this year when you go against a guy like Rodgers or you go against a guy like Jordan Travis in week 1. So if you're LSU, if I'm on that defense, I'd probably be licking my chops in a game like this one.
I'm about to rattle off 5 stats here, and I don't know which one is the worst, quite frankly. It's that bad. Listen to these statistics for Auburn. 42% of their run plays this year have gone for 0 or negative yards. That is almost half. 42% with those two backs. That shows a total lack of performance by the offensive line. Okay, let's drift over to the passing game. Not a single wide receiver for Auburn has caught a touchdown. Not one.
Yeah, that's not very good.
They've thrown 2 passes as a team and 6 interceptions. Their turnover margin is -6. And in second half scoring, where they got absolutely punished by Penn State and they didn't score on Missouri, 113th in the country in second half scoring. I don't know which of those 5 is worse, but it spans the entire offense.
Yeah, no, it is. It's just a bad offense right now. They really can't, execute at a high enough level. And they even against the bad teams, you playing San Jose State, that wasn't even a great performance there.
They won by 8.
Yeah, it's just they haven't played well all season. It's kind of like doesn't even matter who they're going against. And so when you have everything like you just said, they're not executing, they're not, making plays. Their offense is ranked terribly in just about every category. It makes you really wonder. I know we're talking about maybe jinxing this game, but the more I think about it, it's just like, what are they going to do?
That's my next question. What concern could you have? LSU's played great defense other than third downs against Florida State. What's the blueprint for Auburn? Like when you look at this and go, maybe, that could give us some trouble. Does anything come to mind?
I think the only thing that I could see possibly is Bigsby breaks off a few big runs. Maybe, their quarterback Ashford pulls it out on a read option and you're not paying attention to him and he breaks off a big one. But really, if you get that under control, I just don't see how they consistently do it, because to me, the strength of this LSU defense is that defensive front. They've just been playing extremely well with Wingo in the middle, and then now you got Perkins coming off the edge, and we know what Ojulari and Gabe have been doing. I love that they kind of move those guys around the line as well. Some of those guys are playing D-tackle at some points, especially on rush downs. I just don't know how their front blocks those guys, and so I think their best avenue, they're going to have to get Bigsby going, and that's probably the only thing that I kind of fear. But I think we did a good job with them last year. I don't think that's a back where you're like, man, this is Derrick Henry in his prime. Like, it's just like when a world beater back there. But when you have the offensive line he has in front of him, and you just look at that offense as a whole, no real weapons on the outside. I think you can put more resources in the box to kind of pay attention to what they're doing there. I think that's really their only hope.
And one thing that I pointed to is I'm poring over the numbers, I'm looking at highlights, and I'm kind of – honestly, I did this exercise. And I don't mean to over-promote LSU. I think LSU's got plenty of potential issues that we just don't know enough about to this point. But I'm trying to think, okay, how would Auburn get this thing cooking? And I'm the same way with you that Bigsby has the ability to hit some home runs. He's got the ability to make guys miss, maybe get him in space on a screen play or something. He breaks a corner's tackle and takes it. I mean, that always exists. Maybe a more likely scenario to get an offense going, or what makes things as easy as they can be for an offense, is you get a turnover. And Jaden Daniels hasn't really put the ball in harm's way yet, which is, I think, a huge thing in this game. If you make Auburn consistently try to go 70, 75, 85 yards, they just have not proven they're built to do that. Maybe once, but certainly not 4 times. And if you give them 1 or 2 turnovers in a short field, that's where, especially on their home field, they can get going. But that hasn't been the MO of Jaden Daniels to this point.
No, it has not. And I think it's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time. And with Jaden right now, because you see some guys open down the field and maybe 50-50, maybe 60-40. Should he throw the ball? He's not going to throw it unless they're wide open and he feels like he's going to get it exactly right to his target. He's not going to put it in harm's way. And to me, like, if you're not losing games because you're scoring 7 points, you're scoring 8 points, you're still able to get the ball down the field and go on drives, I'm all good with Jaden, not putting the ball in harm's way, because the second you do that, the second you give Auburn that short field, Jordan Harris got to go ruckus. That place is going to blow up. I've been there before. When their defense is making plays or getting turnovers, that's the kind of thing that can kind of boost their offense up and get their offense going on some short field. So if I'm Jaden, continue to play the way you're playing. Keep the ball out of harm's way, because that's really, to me, like you said, that the other avenue is them running the ball. But if you turn it over, that's an even bigger avenue for Auburn to have a chance in this football game.
And so we're talking about this Auburn defense, and we're like, well, there's Auburn offense. We're like, well, they're not very good. Well, how are they on defense? Well, I'll just run through the numbers real quick. Scoring defense, 53rd. Run defense, 52nd. Pass D, 64th. Total defense, 48th in the country. Sacks, do they get after you? 68th. Tackles for loss, 88th. On opponents' third downs, 73rd. They're not in the top 47 of any of these statistics. And so It's not like they're setting the world on fire on that side of the ball either.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The most alarming thing about that is the teams that they've played this year. It's not like they're going against Ohio State or Alabama. You've played Missouri. My goodness, played San Jose State. I know Penn State. They're ranked. They're a good team. That's probably the only offense.
And they scored 42 points.
yeah. So it's like when you did go against someone that had a pulse, they just ran the ball up and down your field. And to me, the worst thing, watching it as a player and just watching football as a whole is when you don't have rush defense, it's just demoralizing as a football team. When the other team could just hand the ball to a back, they're getting 5, 6 a pop. You watch Singleton from Penn State just run it down the throat, the easiest 100 yards I've probably ever seen. It's tough, man. It's demoralizing. And so for looking at that Auburn defense, normally they have those stacked defensive lines. They don't have that this year. If you're going to give up run plays to this LSU offense, you're going to be in for a long day because Jaden's going to pull it down the pass game. They're going to have some quarterback run stuff mixed in there too. Yeah, like I said, talk about unjinxable, man. I'm sorry. I don't see it now. I just don't see it right now. I just don't see it.
We're trying. I mean, I watched the tape of Penn State and Auburn, and Singleton had 3 25-yard plus runs in the second half. I mean, they just started to gash them because when your offense continuously doesn't put up a fight and you immediately have to kick it right back to them, or they turn it over, which they did 3 times in the Penn State game, you just give up. And that goes back to yesterday's point where I'm saying if you can punch these guys in the mouth, that stadium will silence first and empty second, and you'll have them exactly where you want it. You let them rip off a couple of those Tank Bigsby runs, you turn it over, you give up one of your freshman tackles is late on a snap count, and they come firing off the edge and force a strip sack. Well, then you got some issues. But statistically speaking, film-wise, personnel-wise, performance this past month, none of it indicates that Auburn is ready to win another SEC game anytime soon. Yeah,
I agree with that. I mean, especially when you look at the SEC West, and if you're an Auburn fan, like what matchup do you really feel great about? Do you feel great about Arkansas? Do you feel great about going against that A&M defense? We know what they're going to feel about the Iron Bowl. That's what they're going to feel. But if you really look at the SEC West
they'll probably beat Georgia. That's a good one. They got that Eastern crossover. They'll handle them probably.
Yeah, look, it's going to be tough teams, man. That's why, like we talked about before, the tea leaves are on the wall with that organization, with that program, because you look at the schedule, you look at how they played this far, you look at what the road ahead, it's just hard to kind of make that case that they're going to just change it around overnight and just go on this dominant run. It's just, what do you do well on either side of the ball? And then that's not with me even talking about Ashford turning the ball over. If he's passing the ball time and time again, especially in third and long situations, I just think he's going to give the ball to the other team. I just don't trust him as a passer right now. And as a defense, you're licking your chops. When a quarterback doesn't hit his open weapons, he's turning the ball over, you got a pass rush that can get after him. I mean, there's no other world you want to live in if you're a defensive player for LSU.
Perfect little segue to segment 2. I'm going to talk about what I've seen on tape from Auburn with both of their quarterbacks. We don't expect Finley to play, but I've watched a lot of Ashford as well. That's next on Hunt and Hill.
Hunt Palmer and Jeremy Hill. It's Hunt and Hill.
Football season is underway, so now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000. That's free bets back if you don't win your first bet. Just sign up with promo code 1045ESPN.
Look, you got all your favorite bets, money line, point spreads, player props. Tonight's point spread, Joe B. and the Bengals, 3.5-point favorites over the unbeaten Miami Dolphins. You want some action on that, or you want to take the other side of the money line? Dolphins plus 152 coming back. Best part, when you win, you get paid fast. And it's all on an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. So sign up today. Promo code 1045ESPN for your no-sweat first bet. That is promo code 1045ESPN. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. Refund issues and non-withdrawable free bets. Expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. You're somebody who knows a gambling problem and wants help. Call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the
NFL is back. Our coverage starts Sunday at 10 a.m. with Magnolia Bluffs Football Sunday with Jimmy Ott, immediately followed by the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders at noon, right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
104.5 ESPN and Acura Baton Rouge ask for your support in helping us raise money for Folds of Honor. Folds of Honor is a nonprofit organization that provides families of fallen or disabled service members educational scholarships. So to donate to this important cause, view our website at 1045ESPN.com. This week, everybody that makes a donation is going to be entered to win tickets to see Greta Van Fleet at the Smoothie King Center on November the 1st. Donate now at 1045ESPN.com from Acura Baton Rouge and 1045 ESPN. All right, let's talk Auburn quarterback a little bit. For the timeline, for those that haven't watched a lot of Auburn football this year, they had three guys entering the season. TJ Finley, who was the starter at the end of last year, Zach Calzada, the A&M transfer, and Robbie Ashford, who is from the state of Alabama, went up to Oregon to play baseball and football, transferred back to Auburn. So it was a three-horse race in camp, and it was apparently pretty close. Calzada missed a lot of time. They decided to go with TJ Finley, even after the little dust-up with the law there, running around on scooters and whatnot. So Finley is the guy. Finley against Penn State throws a terrible interception where he's like in the grasp of the defender. He's about to go down. He tries to like throw it away, and it just flubs into the hand of a Penn State guy. It was not a very good decision at all. Later in the second half, he's trying to avoid a sack. He's holding the ball out with one hand. Penn State guy chops it loose, fumble. Harson's ticked. They say, forget it, we're going with Ashford. So Ashford comes in that Penn State game after Finley's turned it over twice, and I mean immediately drops back and throws a humming missile right into the face mask of a Penn State defender for an interception. The guy was dropping into zone, and he just hit him right between the eyes. So the one touchdown pass Ashford did throw in that game was a little wheel route, swing route that he threw out to Jarquez Hunter for a touchdown. Against Missouri, Finley played a little bit. They went with Ashford, and then they scored 14 points in the first quarter, running a lot of runs out of the pistol, some wide receiver screens, a nice little quarterback draw for a touchdown for Ashford. And that looked decent. In the first quarter, they're up 14-0. They never scored again the rest of the game, save overtime with a field goal. So that's where they are. Calzada's out for the year with surgery. Finley is reportedly not going to play in this game, so it is Ashford. I've watched a lot of him over the last few games. He is really fast. He's a really good athlete, as you'd imagine, a guy that could play Pac-12 baseball and football, then come down to the SEC and be in the quarterback mix. He can run. He's pretty fast, and his arm's okay. I don't see any attempt to get the ball down the field with him. It is wide receiver screens, swing passes, short stuff over the middle. There's nothing stretching the football field with Robbie Ashford that I can see.
Yeah, and I think that goes in line with kind of his play and kind of what he wants to do, and then it goes in line also with the weapons they have on the outside. I just don't think they have those dangerous guys. When you're used to going against Jameson Williams every year and just all the other SEC dominant receivers, Auburn just doesn't have that level of talent on the outside, and you pair that with a quarterback who most likely wants to use his legs, get the ball out quick, and kind of work that read option game and kind of quarterback run game. I just don't see how they continue to take shots down the field, especially with this secondary, who I think really has done a phenomenal job, not giving up busts, not giving up guys running wide open down the field. And so more and more I think about this is just I can't wait to watch this game. I want to really see how Auburn tries to attack this defense, especially with that defensive line LSU has getting after their offensive line. I don't think their offensive line is very great, which is why I think, it's hard for him to really hold the ball that long and try to find something deep down the field. So for LSU, it's just a matchup that I think you really should win. I don't see really how Auburn goes out there with Ashford and lights the field up for 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. I think that's going to be very, very difficult for them to do. So if you're LSU, like I said before, you just feel good about this matchup.
We'll talk to Jason Caldwell of Inside the Auburn Tigers here in 40 minutes, straight up 2 o'clock, to see what he sees. But it's just a shame for Auburn that you've got this really good set of running backs and a quarterback that can move around a little bit, but the offensive line's not blocking, and the wide receiving core is not able to stretch the field to a point that you can relax the defense. It's just right on top of you. And that's been the case, which is why 42% of their runs have gone for 0 or negative yards, because teams are just going to line up 8 guys up there, play man, and keep everything in front. And if you're not even going to try to throw it down the field, well, that's even more ammo. So it's when you think about what LSU's defense has been, which has been a pretty stout unit up front, some pretty good guys on the edge, and a secondary that's been communicating well and has been in position, it sounds even worse. And I don't like the point. Like, we didn't even discuss getting on this show and painting a picture that Auburn can't play with LSU. Like, that's not even the point of what we're just relaying, like, literal facts and what they've done through a month. And unless you want us to sit here and, like, make something up, it's hard to look past.
No, it is. And I think it'd be the exact opposite if we're trying to make a case that, hey, we're going to just dominate Alabama. We're going to blow those guys out for whatever little magical reason we have in our little heads here in Baton Rouge. Like, that's the case. No, we're just looking at what we've seen on the field. We're looking at the numbers. We're looking at the stats. We're looking at this LSU defense, who ranks extremely high in the SEC right now. And we're just looking at what's happened thus far this season. And for LSU, I think since that Florida State game, they've only gotten better. And for that Auburn offense, I know they played Mercer week 1, which is, you may as well play a scrimmage for all that. But you played every Power 5 school you played, you've really struggled on offense. So to sit here and say, this is the magical week, they're going to turn it around and just light up the world, I think I can't go there right now. I just can't. When you look at the weapons they have on the outside, you look at the quarterback that's playing. I know they still have Bigsby, but I just don't see it, man. I just don't see them being that level of offense where you really, you got to really lock in. Like, to be honest with you, like that Mississippi State game, I was kind of worried. I was worried a ton going into it.
I picked us to lose by 10.
Yeah, I was worried a ton going into that game because we know what that offense is capable of and what that quarterback can do. It's just literally the exact opposite going on this week.
Yeah, it's it feels that way. And like Auburn's had some Seth Williams we talked about yesterday, or if they had like Anthony Schwartz, who's the fastest guy in college football, you'd be like, well, you got to watch that guy because if they get him in space, it's trouble. And Bixby, to an extent, has that ability, not with the speed, but just with the ability to make guys miss, run over guys. He's bull, he's tough, and if Auburn can get into 3rd and shorts, which will be their goal because they're not a big play team, he'll hammer away. And you hope if you're Auburn, you run some clock and you wear LSU down a little bit and you get into some 3rd and manageables, and maybe Ashford runs for a couple of first downs, or you get a big play on some kind of trick play. But it's I think here's the question: if we switch this to LSU, how confident, scale of 1 to 10? 10, this is the best defense in the country. Nobody's going to score much on them. and one, they can't stop a nosebleed. Where are you with this LSU defense against the really good teams on their schedule? I'm like a 6. Like, I think they're good. I'm impressed with what they did against a one-dimensional offense, but Jordan Travis did kind of play pretty well against them. And I don't think that it's laden with pros. Is it possible for them to become like an 8 after you watch the Auburn game? I still think I'm going to wait until Tennessee shows up. Like, that's probably where I'm going to be.
Yeah. I think for me, I'll probably go 6.5, 7. I'm pretty close locked in with where you are because for me, that Florida State game was just the first game of the year. New team, new defense, new coordinators. They hit the big-time touchdown with that trick play. But no, you take those missed tackles out, which I think they've just done a lot more phenomenal job doing. They really didn't play that bad. And then in the fourth quarter, when they had to have stops, had to make plays, got a turnover at the goal line, had to do all those things, they were able to do that. And it seems like since that point, they haven't really looked back. They've really kind of played lights out since the fourth quarter of that Florida State game. And so going into this week, it's, like you say, you're not going to really learn much, especially against this Auburn offense. You got to really, if you can shut down Ashford in the run game and you shut down Bigsby, I just don't see how they make a way to score a bunch of points and score more points than you, especially with the way their defense is looking. But I think the real test, like you said, is going to be against that Tennessee offense. We all know what they represent. We all know what they can do. So, but right now, I still feel confident in this defense.
Two things can be true. One, LSU's plan and execution was phenomenal against Mississippi State. And two, that is a one-dimensional offense that isn't really comparable to anything else that you're going to see all year. So just because you handle that offense doesn't mean you're going to handle all of them, in my estimation. You go out there and hold Tennessee to 13 points, okay. Well, we'll start to talk about being one of the best defenses in the league. I don't think it's going to happen, but we knew that Mississippi State's offensive line was not great, but one of my points leading up to this game, which is why I picked Mississippi State, I said, yeah, LSU's defensive front's way better than Mississippi State's, but offensive line, but the ball's going to be out so quick, who cares? And what actually happened was they went for a couple of 4th and 1s and ran it, and LSU stopped them, and they did actually generate some pass rush against Will Rogers. So, I was right and wrong in that sense, but I still think in terms of the big picture, yeah, you played great against Mississippi State, but that's an air raid. It's a little bit different. And again, I think that this is a team that LSU should basically put the clamps on for 60 minutes. And if LSU allows 24 points in this game, I'll be disappointed.
Yeah, I think so too. I think when you look at Missouri's defense, like, come on, man, we got
to 14.
If Missouri can hold these guys, I mean, look at San Jose State held them 24. They barely got that. Like, they scored that late in the fourth quarter. It's like, yeah, we got to show up, man. I know it's on the road. I know a lot of people say it's Auburn, we're so scared, but it's I think you got to just play well against this team. And if you can do that, man, next week's going to set up so pretty. It's going to be fun next week, baby.
My guy Brian Burgess there in the Bayou 4 chat always jumps towards whenever I pick against LSU that I'm some sort of massive pessimist, when everyone else on the internet says I'm a blind optimist. Brian has the opinion that I'm very pessimistic. To each their own. I guess everybody
can't pick against the Tigers.
Everybody
man.
Sees something different.
You pick against the Tigers once, they never let you forget it.
I'm not done picking against the Tigers. Shit, but I'm probably not going to pick against them tomorrow. We'll see. Speaking of, not speaking of anything, but the Saints are playing in London on Sunday, and it's trending towards Andy Dalton. We'll tell you why we think that, and we've got a guy here on the set who shared the huddle with Andy Dalton for a long time. We'll talk about Andy Dalton potentially leading the Saints on Sunday. Next on Hunt and Hill.
Hold down the middle of the day. This is Hunt and Hill.
Reliable Roofing and Construction, Reliable Roofing LLC.
So happy to tell you guys about Reliable Roofing, a family-run, owned, and operated residential roofing company. They've been in business since 2008 with over 30 years of roofing experience.
A lot of people in the same boat right now in Louisiana. A lot of insurance carriers are moving out of the state. If you're being non-renewed on your homeowner's insurance, and you've got to have it because the mortgage company requires it, you may need a new roof to have another company and another carrier that is able to insure you. If that's the case, call Reliable Roofing and Construction. They can replace, they can repair, they can inspect, they can do all that for you. Go to the website, reliableroofingbr.com, and check out their before and after pictures. Lionel Hayes is the owner, born and raised in Baton Rouge, and he's going to visit every single job site that his crews work on. You're going to get the highest quality shingle, the best options, and you're going to get a 5-year labor warranty on every job that Reliable Roofing and Construction performs. Go to the website, reliableroofingbr.com, Reliable Roofing at reliableroofingbr.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
They said I was small, weak, said my heart wasn't strong enough. But I showed them what heart looked like, again and again and again. Mom got me the right care, the right doctors with Blue Cross coverage. Don't let people tell you who you are. Show them the right card, the right care.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big V and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Ryan Clark, Mike Triplett, our Fantasy Blitz. We take a closer look at the Auburn Tigers. Join us Thursday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt and Hill, 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Saints in London. Vikings headed that way today. Are you a little surprised the Vikings waited till Thursday to go?
We did the exact same thing, and it's literally miserable. You literally come off a 6.5, 7-hour flight, and you go right to practice. It's just brutal, and then you got to get their sleep schedule's totally thrown off. They're like, sleep. I'm like, dude, my schedule's totally just messed up right now. There's no way I'm sleeping, and then you got to play in a game at 11 a.m. or 12 at noon. It's just ridiculous. But, yeah, you got to get there on Tuesday. That's what the real teams do.
Yeah, so what the Saints decided to do, they were out on the practice field today. Not practicing today, Jameis Winston nor Michael Thomas. Both missed their second consecutive day of practice. Pete Carmichael met with the media today, said the decision not to practice Jameis Winston was made earlier this morning, and that his status is basically day-to-day. They asked Pete Carmichael if he's going to start on Sunday, and Pete said, I'll let Dennis make that call. So right now, Andy Dalton is working with the number ones. We have seen Jameis Winston through the last month of football. It has not looked good from a health perspective, a production perspective, a performance perspective. None of it's very good. And Andy Dalton's gotten a lot of buzz in the fan base, but it feels like he might play in this game. Jameis is he's just miserable. He's in a ton of pain. He's saying it out loud, which is not something he does a ton of. And Dalton was pretty good in the preseason and was pretty functional for the Cowboys in his short time there. So I realize he's a vet. We'll talk about kind of what the offense may look like if it is him. But you played with the guy for a long time. Your thoughts on whether or not he should be the guy right now as Jameis continues to wince in pain and throw the ball inaccurately?
Yeah, to me, I'm always, if a guy, we all play hurt. I mean, it's the National Football League. You're going to be dealing with something. Everyone's dealing with something, whether you're on the injury report or not, especially once you're getting to week 4, week 5. It's just the nature of the National Football League. But to me, once you're laboring, once you're not the same player, you can't do the things you're being asked to do. You got to put the other guy in there, because the only thing that's going to happen is kind of what you've seen. You're going to see the turnovers ramp up. You're going to see the offense just not look like they can execute at a high level. And so to me, you got to kind of put Andy out there. If you want any future with Jameis as the quarterback of your team to end this season, putting him out here week after week after week, it's going to come a play where he's going to take a big-time sack, he's going to hit in his back, and he's not going to get up. It's just exactly what's going to happen. And so get Andy out there. You know, he may be that bridge for 2 or 3 weeks to get Jameis a little more healthy than he is now. You know, he has the experience out there. And for Andy, he's a guy that, you know, if everything's going right, he's got to make the throws and make the plays. It's just when you're on some bad teams with some bad lines, you don't have the weapons on the outside. It makes you look really, really bad as a quarterback. But Andy, like I said jokingly before the show, he's made Pro Bowls. He's been to the playoffs before. If things are going right, he can make the throws and make the plays. So for me, I think, you know, you ride Andy Dalton out for a few weeks, get Jameis a little more healthy, and then kind of see what you want to do going forward.
He started 9 games for the Cowboys 2 years ago. The team went 4-5. He threw 14 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He was fine in those games. They were competitive week in and week out with him under center. I dare say the Cowboys defense that year was not as good as the Saints is playing right now. The Saints have been really good. Last year for the Bears on what was a terrible roster, he started 6 games. They went 3-3, 8 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. So any sort of feeling that Andy Dalton is some sort of savior to the team that's going to come in there and light the league up like Nick Foles did, I think is a little ambitious. But I think that he can pilot the ship. If they can block a little bit, and if you've got Thomas and Landry and Olave, and if Kamara's healthy, they can move the football enough, and the Saints have got to play really, really good defense. I think I'm on the side with limited information, granted. I mean, I know he's got a broken back, but I don't know how he feels, what he looks like, what the medical procedures have been, what the doctors know that I don't. Just from a football perspective, looking at stats, looking at the film, I think I'd go with Dalton for a couple of weeks and just let Jameis chill for a second.
Yeah, I think, I mean, to me, it seems like a no-brainer, because it's like, what's the risk versus the reward? Like, you got a quarterback out there who's laboring, like his arm throwing motion does not look the same. He's not mobile at all. Like, if there's any pressure, he can't extend plays. It's like, what's the risk versus reward? If he's out there lighting it up and hurt and banged up, I'd be like, hey, leave him out there. He's doing his thing. He's playing well. But, like, his play has clearly just been a huge drop-off, especially since last year. And so you got to get a guy out there that's a lot more healthy. Let Jameis get back, you know, a little more healthy and kind of see what you go there. Knowing the Saints, I think they just really trust Jameis. They really want him out there. If he says he can go and he's cleared, I don't see the Saints, you know, making another decision and saying, you know what, we're going to sit him down and move the other way. I think if he gets cleared, I think the Saints are going to trot him out there.
You know Andy Dalton very well. What's he like on the field, in the huddle, in practice? I mean, at 35 years old, which is what he is right now, what could Saints fans expect from him, and what can the Saints players expect from him? Yeah,
like I said before, if things are going right, you know, he can definitely light it up. Like, if you're giving him time to throw the football, he has weapons on the outside, things can go great. But when things kind of don't go that way, he's not getting time. He's not going to be able to extend plays. Things could go really bad. And I think that's kind of why Andy kind of found himself in this situation, especially towards the back end of his career in Cincinnati, when that offensive line wasn't the best offensive line, kind of what Joe dealt with this rookie year, still kind of dealing with now. It looks bad, and that's kind of the difference. You know, Joe can deliver you from evil. He can get those 9 sacks, get off the pitch, and, you know, still find a way to win those football games. Andy just isn't quite at that level right now. So if you're the Saints, you got to get a run game going. You got to protect him. If you can do that, he does have weapons he can get the ball to. So that's kind of what you do with. He's a good guy. He's a very religious guy. He's going to, you know, be around the team. He's going to be a great leader. But like I said, adversity, when it's at a high level, it's probably going to be tough for you to win that football game.
how difficult would it be for Dennis Allen? It would be his job to go to Jameis and say, look, man, I appreciate you gutting this out right now, and I know you could go out there. The doctors have said you can play. I think it's best for your health, and I think it's best for our football team with a pretty good roster here. I need you to sit for 3 weeks. I need you to rest. And I know it's not going to be perfect when you get back, but it's just going to get worse if you keep going out there. You keep trying to practice. We keep rushing things. We're playing in a game on Sunday, and you're not practicing until Thursday or Friday ever. I realize that they don't do a ton early in the week anyway, but it's just, if we're going to get into a little bit of a flow and a little bit of a rhythm, I just want to see Andy out there and let you get healthy. You're not in jeopardy right now of losing your job. We just want, and I think it's a tough discussion to have. How do you think it would go having been in an NFL locker room?
Yeah, I kind of dealt with that one year. I think it's my second year in the league, and got to give some little inside secret. I won't give any names to this story, but Andy broke his thumb, and we had A.J. McCarron coming into the lineup, and A.J. was 4-1 as a starter for the team, and you had a lot of contingent in that locker room saying, why would we put Andy back in there? And Andy just signed a big contract, signed a big deal, and so it's a real thing. And I think the Eagles just dealt with that with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles, and obviously in 49ers they're dealing with that with Jimmy G and Trey Lance, and it kind of can split a locker room in half. Like, you got some guys that think, this guy gives us the best chance to win. You got a lot of other guys, that think the other guy can give you the best chance to win. So that's a real thing that the Saints are probably going to have to deal with, especially if Andy goes out there and has any sort of success. It's got to be something that they got to ask themselves, especially at the front office. It's a front office head coach thing. It's always their decision at the end of the day. But as far as the locker room goes, yeah, you'll definitely have a split contingent as far as that goes.
Because if you're Jameis, this is it. This is your last chance to be the guy for a franchise, I think. I mean, quarterbacks get a lot of chances, but if you go to Tampa and then it fizzles and they decide not to bring you back, and then the Saints bring you in as a backup, and you got 3 years in limbo because you sat for 2 years and then you had the injury, and then all of a sudden you get beat out by Andy Dalton because he's playing better with this roster than you could when you were hurt, and the Saints decide they don't want to move forward with you. I don't know that there's going to be another team sprinting to the front of the line to pay you a huge amount of money to be the starting quarterback. Again, maybe I'm wrong because of that position. Certainly at running back or at, corner, they're not. But it just feels like you're going to have to pry Jameis off the field, or like you said, he can't get up. It just because this is it.
Yeah, no, it is. And these windows, especially for the quarterback, because like I asked you yesterday, we know the running rate if you're a starting quarterback for these teams, and you don't get that many avenues to get that type of money. And so if you're Jameis, you're a former #1 overall pick, you've kind of had opportunity after opportunity to kind of be, a team's franchise quarterback. You have everything you need right now. I think so many quarterbacks in this league would love to be in the shoes that Jameis is in, where you got Alvin Kamara, you got Mark, and you got Michael. You have everything you could ask for as a quarterback. And so if you're a quarterback and you can't really play to that high level in that situation, you really can't blame anyone but yourself. And so, yeah, like you said, it's going to take Jameis to really be, totally laid out on the field for him to, not want to play. I know he's competitive. I know he wants to win. He's always talking about eating W's and whatnot. But, I think for the Saints, you got to kind of take players out of harm's way. When you're at the point to where you're one hit away from being really almost career-ending type things with the back, that's some stuff you don't want to play with. You're one blindside hit away from things going really, really south. And so, if I'm the Saints, I'm not even putting that in harm's way. I'm getting Andy out there, let Jameis get a lot more health, because the back is probably, especially for a quarterback, when blindside hits, that's something you just can't even protect yourself from.
And I was thinking about Dennis Allen earlier this morning and in the way that he needs to handle this, because I knew we were going to have this discussion. And I settled on the fact that it doesn't really matter. But as I said before the season started, Jameis Winston and Dennis Allen are now tied at the hip. This is their last chance. This is chance number 2. To be at the top of the sport as a quarterback / a head coach. And if you don't get this done, it's probably over. And so I'm thinking, I wonder if Dennis Allen's mindset changes a little bit on this, because he feels the pressure of this being his last chance, and some of the roster's getting a little bit older, and it's a chance to win now because you feel like the roster's in pretty good shape. And the more I thought about it, I went, no, he's just trying to win. And if they think that Andy Dalton gives a better chance to win, then I think they'll put him out there. And if they think that Jameis gives him the better chance to win and the doctors clear him, I think the decision kind of makes itself. I personally would go with Andy Dalton no matter what the doctor said. But that's not not my job. I just think that that's what he's going to default to, I think.
Yeah, and then that's what I said earlier. I'm like, look, the Saints, they clearly have Jameis on this level where they feel like he's their guy. They brought him back for a reason, and they want him out there on the field. And so I think, any chance he gets cleared, he's just going to be the quarterback. I think Andy's kind of their insurance policy if something really, really bad happens to Jameis. But if he gets cleared, I think they're going to try Jameis out there.
We're reminding you each and every day The Shed is hosting an Allie Rice fundraiser. Of course, Allie Rice tragically murdered on Government Street a couple of weeks ago here in Baton Rouge. The fundraiser Thursday, October the 13th from 6:30 to 9 o'clock. If you want to attend, tickets are $100. There are only 150 tickets available. 50% of each ticket is going to be donated to the fundraiser. The meal includes prime steak, smoked baked potatoes, asparagus, salad, and 2 drinks are included with your purchase. That's wine, spirits, beer, seltzer, soft drinks. A portion of all the additional drinks they sell will also be donated towards the foundation too. Additional donations on top of the ticket purchase are very much welcome. You can make those donations directly to the Allie Rice Fund, ALLI, Allie Rice Fund, at any Citizens Bank and Trust located in Baton Rouge. We will come back. There's a story breaking in the NFL today that I find fascinating, and I think I'm probably on a different side than most people. We'll finish up hour number 1 with that next.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge with Hunt and Hill.
Bayou Ford, check out the inventory, BayouFord.com. They've got your new cars, they've got your used cars, got a great service department as well. Telling you about the service department this week. Servicing your car is not very much fun. We don't necessarily budget for it too often. We certainly don't plan for it very often, but it's something we've got to do is take care of your car. Bayou Ford makes it as easy as possible. You don't have to sit in a waiting room all day scrolling through your phone, waiting for them to find a part or get it fixed, or when's the car in front of me going to be done? How do I get back to work? Got to pick up the kids. You don't have to worry about any of that. They're going to come get your car, leave you a loaner, and bring your car to be serviced at the dealership. When they're done, they'll drive your car right back to you, pick the loaner up, take it on back, and you haven't missed a beat. It's all about convenience in the service department over there at Bayou Ford.
Yeah, head over to BayouFord.com. They have the brand new 2022 Ford Expedition Timberline, tinted windows, ready to lift 3 kit on there. Also, all new 2021 Ford F-150s. They're getting $14,000 off MSRP, including the Black Widow edition.
Bayou Ford. The website is BayouFord.com. Bayou Ford, where they're going to do right by you.
This week on DropBiscuit.com or wherever you listen to podcasts is our new series, Pops, the Louis Armstrong story. Pops is brought to you by New Orleans & Company. Check out NewOrleans.com and come visit New Orleans.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Bayou Ford has $15,000 off MSRP on a new 2021 Ford F-150. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million-mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your...
Jimmy Ott and Charles Henegriff for the Thursday evening edition of Game Time presented by Bet Rivers. We're downtown at Jolly Pearl Oyster Bar on North facing Town Square. Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. presented by Bet Rivers on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So a story broke last year that student paper was filming Oklahoma's football practice from the journalism school and tallying quarterback reps for who was going to start between Caleb Williams and Spencer Rattler. And look, I get that sometimes football coaches are overly paranoid. I've been in the media long enough to know that they are paranoid about a lot of things that go on. And most people side on the fact that these guys are so ridiculous. Who cares if we see what goes on in practice? It doesn't matter, this and that. And I hear a lot of that, and I just disagree. And this week, the Dolphins were practicing at Cincinnati, the University of Cincinnati's Nippert Stadium, to get ready for their game against the Bengals. And it surfaces that someone's filming their practice. And a lot of people are like, who cares? Like, you can't find anything out. You don't know. And I'm going, okay, if something is going on, like there's fraud in a political office and we need to surveil somebody to make sure that there's not laws being broken, okay, let's get the cameras out and film people. Football teams in a game, I think we can give them a little bit of privacy so they can practice some things that they might want to use to try to win a football game. I mean, where do you like? I just don't need people filming practice and putting it on the internet. Like, I don't need that.
Yeah, that's a weird thing for me because my entire career in Cincinnati, every practice, any Joe Blow Smoke can watch our entire practice from beginning to ending. It's just wide open. There's nothing to protect it. You can watch it from your apartment. You can watch it from the bridge. You can tape the whole thing. It's just open. And then I go to New England. It's totally. No one's watching anything. Yeah. You're not seeing a lick of anything that's going on there. So you see, kind of different teams and different organizations go about it in different ways. Like some teams really, really want privacy. They don't want you to know anything that's going on. And if you're the Bengals, it's like, hey, if you want to watch our practice from week 1 to the end of the season, have your fill, have fun, do tape away, do what you want to do. And so I think it just really boils down to the organization. If it was me, like, no, I don't want anyone knowing what touchdown play I'm about to give. We're scheming up this run play. No, we're going to save this for Sunday. So, yeah, I'm in the camp of, no, you're not taping this stuff because it's definitely, week by week, you're game planning different plays. You're putting in certain plays for different opponents. And if you know what those plays are, it just makes it very, very difficult to try to win.
The one play, like, I was trying to think of it. Let me think of a play that most people know that, like, if you saw it videoed at practice and you were the opponent and had access to it on the internet, that would not be very good. Go back to the LSU-Bama game in 2019. You remember the play where it was the last drive LSU ran, and Burrow runs the read option, acts like he's going to run it, which he had done very successfully in the second half, and then pulled up and hit Jamar Chase on a post route for like 25 yards. They had not run that play all year, and that is not a play that anyone would have seen. But if you let everybody sit there and watch your practices and film it and put it on the internet, well, that's not going to work so hot. And not to mention fake punts and all that, field goals and flip over the head. Like, I feel like a football team should have some right to practice things that they want to give them an advantage on the weekend. It's not hiding behind closed doors when you're committing crimes and whatever that may be. It's a football game. We don't need to film it and put it on the internet. Now, your point about Cincinnati is a reasonable one that, like, yeah, some teams just let everything out there, and I do agree that football coaches can be overly paranoid, but I just don't need my football practice being filmed. That's the side that I'm going to be on.
No, 100%. I agree with you there. And I think, as a player, like, you work so hard every week to try to score plays. You try to score touchdowns. You're trying to make plays, and it's like if the other team knows exactly what you're doing, it's going to make it so hard to do. And, like, maybe you're in high school, you run the triple option, you know it's coming right at you every time. That's one thing. But the NFL, it's very, very difficult to win when they know what's coming at them. Better yet, if they can see what you're about to do before you even run it, especially in certain formations. Like, oh, that's the trick play right there. We know it's coming. And so, yeah, you got to kind of cover that stuff up, especially once you get in the season and you're game planning against specific opponents.
I'm there with you. I'm on Team Dolphins on that issue. I hope they get their brains beat in tonight by our Bengals. Best win and worst loss on the NFL and college football board this weekend coming up at 2:30. Conference realignment talk. I know y'all are crazy about that, but there's something cooking, I think. There have been some reports as well. We'll talk about that when we kick off hour number 2 next. Jason Caldwell of Inside the Auburn Tigers will be talking Tigers. Hope your Thursday's going awesome. Come back with us after Sports Center. It's Hunting Hill.
Bayou Ford has $15,000 off MSRP on a new 2021 Ford F-150. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million-mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
When I was a boy, I spent my days climbing trees, catching fish. Barefoot in the river I walked, listening to crickets, counting stars. This was home. After my stroke, I wondered if I'd make it back to the people and places I love. But I got the right doctors with Blue Cross coverage. Your card matters. Your home does too.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
Light beer shouldn't taste like water.
Miller Lite has more taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time.
Is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. ESPN's Marcel Louis-Jacques reports Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is expected to play tonight against the Bengals in Cincinnati. He was evaluated for a concussion after hitting the back of his head against the Bills on Sunday. ESPN's Rob Ninkovich isn't sold yet on Tua or on the Dolphins.
I know we want to talk a lot about the offense. We'll talk about that second half against the Ravens and putting 35 points on the board and speed at the wide receiver, and that's great because Tyreek is a heck of a player and Jalen Waddle is a great player, and Tua's playing really, really good football within the scheme of what they're asking him to do. But I really like their defense as well. You know, their defense is really what won the game for them against Buffalo.
Rob Ninkovich on Barton Hahn. Dolphins wideout Jalen Waddle is also expected to play tonight. The NFL will keep Sunday night's Chiefs-Buccaneers game in Tampa. Minneapolis was a possible alternate site after the Bucs evacuated for Hurricane Ian. Minor league baseball games this season were 25 minutes shorter on average after instituting a pitch clock.
Hunt and Hill. Tom Palmer, Jeremy Hill, holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, it's Hunt and Hill. Now on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hour 2, Thursday edition of Hunt and Hill. Hope your Thursday is getting along quite nicely. Thank you for spending it with us here on ESPN Baton Rouge. We head out to the phone lines now. Jason Caldwell, inside the Auburn Tigers, part of the 247 Network, is our guest. Jason, how are you?
I'm good, Hunt. Man, how's it going?
It's going quite well. How was y'all's weather over the last 24 hours?
Just, fortunately for us, just a lot of wind.
Right.
We haven't had one drop of rain, not even any clouds. And so, unfortunately, it's all stayed in Florida for those folks. But for us, it's just been really breezy, but that's pretty much it.
I got you. We appreciate some time today. I feel like we got a lot to talk about here with Auburn. Let's go back to Saturday. That was as wild a finish as I can remember. What are the vibes on the Plains right now after 4 games?
Yeah, that game, people asked me to describe that one. And the only thing that I could come up with was, unfortunately, for a bad memory for a lot of folks, that interception game in '94 for LSU. But at least in that game, Auburn had to do something to win. Like, they did make some defensive plays to win that game. Saturday, that wasn't really the case. Missouri just said, hey, we're going to keep giving it to you over and over again, and Auburn finally got the recipient of one. I don't know. The vibe is just not sure, what this team can do to win a whole lot of games moving forward, to be quite honest. There's just not a lot of offensive firepower on this team. Defensively, you look at them and you go, they're pretty solid defensively, but they're not making a ton of plays defensively. And people are wondering where the improvement is going to come from. And I think that's the thing that's probably been the most concerning part is really since Bo Nix was injured against Mississippi State in that, when they just kind of blew that huge lead last year. Since that time, this team has not gotten better, and that's probably the biggest concern.
It doesn't sound like some from reports that TJ Finley is going to play in this one. That would leave Robbie Ashford. What are your thoughts on the quarterback situation moving in? Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I think even if TJ was ready, I think Robbie Ashford would probably be the guy they would stick with. Because TJ wouldn't be 100%. I don't think even if he was ready, he might be available in an emergency situation on Saturday. But I think it's going to be Robbie Ashford, and just see what they can add to his repertoire. That's his first career start was last Saturday against Missouri, and obviously they didn't move the ball a whole bunch, but he's an athletic guy. He's got a strong arm. They just had really didn't throw the ball down the field any. Can they add some of those things in the passing game? Because I would assume, much like we saw with Missouri last week and Penn State in the second half 2 weeks ago, I would assume LSU is going to dare Auburn to throw the football and try to take away Tank Bisbee and Jarquez Hunter and those guys. So think Auburn's Robbie Ashford, they're going to have to make some plays in the passing game.
I'm always in the camp of you got to get your best players the ball. To you, how important it is to get Tanks Bixby going in this football game?
Yeah, I mean, they got to be able to run the football. They tried last week and got in some touches. Missouri just said, hey, we're not going to let you do it. And to that end, Tank's one of those guys. Jarquez Hunter's one of those guys, but Javarius Johnson's one of those guys too. Wide receiver. He's not the biggest guy, but he's been their big play threat the last couple of years. And he didn't have a touch Saturday against Missouri. So, I mean, Coy Moore, former LSU guy, had 4 catches for 74 yards. I think he's a guy you got to keep getting involved. But 6 at wide receiver, Javarius Johnson's a guy they got to get involved too. But it all stems. They got to find a way to be able to run the football. It's just not good enough to drop back. It's not like this LSU team. You got Jaden Daniels and you got some of those guys. You can drop back 35 or 40 times in a game. Auburn cannot afford to do that and try to win a football game right now.
Chatting with Jason Caldwell, covers the Auburn Tigers, has been for more than 2 decades. The ground game hasn't gotten going. We know how good the running backs can be because they've been that in their career. And Auburn had a lot of experience on the offensive line coming in. Is it poor play up front, or is it just the box is too stacked?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything, to be quite honest. You lost big deal was right before the start of the season. You lost Nick Brahms, the guy that was going to be a 4-year starter and was a 6-year senior at center. And that's been huge because he's a guy that, had seen everything, experienced, had been through the wars, all those things. Without him, you start a guy that had only played really 7 snaps in a football game in 2 years. And that was as a true freshman, did not play a single snap last year. All of a sudden you thrust that guy into the starting role at center, and there's a learning process involved. Well, now he's hurt. And so you're looking at your third center for an offensive line that had its share of issues anyway. And so I think that's been a big part of this. What teams are doing is part of it. They haven't played very well as part of it. And, heck, they've rotated guys, all over the place. I wouldn't be shocked to see a different rotation on Saturday. They may be bringing a council to center some to see how that looks. But that's usually never a good sign when you're still, 5 games into the season, you're still rotating guys on the offensive line, but that's where they are right now.
Let's talk about the defense. You said solid was the word. LSU's offense has sputtered in the first half against Florida State and against Mississippi State before kind of finding it late in both of those games. LSU's going to trot 2 freshman starting tackles out there. Auburn's defensive front, what have you seen?
That's probably, honestly, the one strength of this team right now is having Derek Hall and Neko Leota on the edge of this defense. Colby Wooden is a good player inside. Marcus Harris, their front and those 4 guys is pretty good. The problem is they're just not a ton of depth. They hadn't played a lot of guys, and so we've seen them have some issues late in games. We saw that last year for this team, and I think that's, if you're looking at a matchup to watch for Auburn's defense, it's going to be those 2 freshman tackles against 29 and 55 for Auburn's defense, and can they create some pressure off the edge? But even when you do that, Jaden Daniels is so good with the run, and Owen Popo and those guys at linebacker are going to have to be watching all the time. But they've been pretty good, but giving up way too many completions and teams that they faced teams early in the season, to be quite honest, except until last week, that said, look, we'll take that 8 to 10 yard pass and we'll take it over again. And Jaden Daniels has done a pretty good job of that so far this year too. If you're Auburn, you got to find a way to be more aggressive and try to create some negative plays on Saturday.
Got to give the Auburn secondary last season a little credit here. To me, he had the best name in college football in Smoke Monday. But this season, without him in that secondary, how do you think they match up with this LSU receiving core, which to me is the strength of this LSU football team?
Yeah, I think that's a big question mark. And, you hear guys talk about it, pressure and coverage, they work together. They haven't gotten enough pressure, and they haven't played tight enough on the back end to help create some pressure either. And so it's been kind of a little bit of both worlds for them. You lose Smoke Monday, but you lose your best player too, Roger McCreary, a guy that's starting for the Tennessee Titans as a rookie. You take those 2 guys out of the equation, and all of a sudden you got some issues. Now, they've added 2 new faces that have really come in really strong. Keontae Scott, the junior college transfer that's starting at the nickel, is also returning punt. He's a really good player, and I think he'll continue to develop. And then the DJ James is an Oregon transfer at corner that's come on and been their best cover guy the last couple of weeks. You got Nehemiah Pritchett, you got Jalen Simpson, you got some corners that have experience. But the coverage guys, especially at the safety position, have been kind of an issue. Should get Donovan Coughlin back this week, a New Orleans native, so that should help some. But, it's can you get enough pressure to help out coverage, and can you play tight enough to give your guys a chance to get to the quarterback? That's been the issue for them. And, I think that's the matchup, absolutely one to watch when you think about this LSU group with the wide receivers, with Neighbors, and obviously, with Booty coming back, that's a strong group.
Obviously, the Penn State environment was really, really good, and the game went the way that it did. What was last weekend's environment like for Missouri? What do you expect for a night game against LSU on Saturday?
It was actually really good considering everything going on. It was 11 a.m. Heck, the fans, they made an impact in the fourth quarter and overtime of that game. I thought the fans were really there. They'll be there Saturday night. It's a 6 o'clock start. It's a big game. When you don't have Georgia and Alabama at home, you're sitting here, and heck, both these teams are still 3-1 and fighting to be in first place in the SEC West after this game with everything that's going on this season. So I would expect the crowd to be in it and be involved. And I think just can the Auburn team make enough plays early to keep them there? That's the question.
Look, we kind of went through a little bit of this last year, and the scales finally tipped on Ed Ogeron. How tenuous are things for Brian Harsin? It's year 2, but how tenuous are things right now week to week?
Yeah, I think it's tenuous. I mean, look at the way this thing works now. There's so much money involved. And I've said it a couple times. Had they had a top 10 recruiting class last year, and were they sitting number 6 in the country in recruiting right now, then you go, okay, man, it's not looking great on the field, but you could see the outcome going, okay, they're getting better, they're improving. They struggled some in recruiting, and that's had an impact on, people going, oh, what's it going to look like down the road? So I think it's been hand in hand on the field and off the field in recruiting for him. And so, it's tenuous. There's no question about it. And, you see earlier and earlier decisions being made just because of the impact of early signing period and transfer portal, all those things. It makes he was asked a couple weeks ago, must-win games. They're all must-win games for just about everybody in the country right now, except for about 5 teams. Yeah. And so, I think tenuous is the key word.
Jason, thanks so much for your time. We'll catch up on Saturday.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Y'all be safe.
You too. That's Jason Caldwell, inside the Auburn Tigers, part of the 247 Network. Look, man, Jason covers them as close as anybody. He's been doing it for 23 years now. If you listen to the first 2 segments of our show today and you think that the picture we painted may have been a little bit biased, he didn't do much to differ from what we said for the first 30 minutes of the show. There's just not much there right now. There's just not. Yeah.
It's hard to make that case right now. I think, it's a situation what can go wrong is going wrong for Auburn. You talk about the coaching staff going into the season. You want to feel great about your coordinators. You want to feel great about everything, great about the quarterback situation. It's just, what do you feel great about if you're an Auburn fan, if you're involved with that fan base and that program? It's just, what can you point to? And especially when you struggle with a bad Missouri team at home, it's just, you don't normally typically see Auburn just play to that level. And so, for LSU, I feel like, this is a great time to, really kind of put the nail in the coffin with this Auburn program. I think if things go the way a lot of people are thinking, I mean, even Vegas has LSU, -8 right now. So it's like, who's kind of pumping Auburn? I'm looking everywhere, like even their fan base, their beat writers, like where's the love coming at for the Tigers right now? It's just very, very hard to make that case for Auburn right now.
And I'm curious. I'll have Jason on my pregame show on Saturday, and I'll ask him, okay, he'll be in the press box at that point. What's it look like? What's the vibe? Because he said that it was packed for Missouri, which I believe. I mean, look, that Auburn fan base, say what you will about the knee-jerk reactions the administration makes, or flying in the middle of the night to interview people, or firing coaches 10 games in, or what. Auburn is as tight-knit a group as there is in the league. Their little brother in that state, and when Chiswick was there, as the AU family, like that is a close-knit group, and they pull for their squad. I think that they will show up on Saturday. It's just a matter of how long does LSU allow them to be a part of the game. That's just in terms of the fans. We shall see. I said last week that on this show you don't get a lot of, a source indicated this may be, or I had an inside conversation. We just don't do a lot of that here. But I did say that I had one last week as far as LSU's infractions case goes. And I actually had a discussion yesterday about conference realignment from somebody kind of in the know on that side of things. And then there was a report today that kind of backed it up. We'll talk about that next on Hunt and Hill.
Hunt Palmer and Jeremy Hill. It's Hunt and Hill. Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli? I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
There's nothing better than tailgating, but it can be a lot of work. So why do it yourself when you don't have to? Let Revelry Sports and Entertainment set up your luxury tailgate on campus. Order what you want and just show up to party. Book your tailgate today at revelryteam.com. Revelry Sports, the official tailgate partner of LSU Athletics.
On Fridays off the bench, it's Football Friday. Let's get you set for the viewing weekend. Best matchups, best bets. D-Generation Dome Season 3. Figure out the answer. 7 to 10 a.m. 104.5 ESPN.
Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So I promise y'all you're not going to get me sources indicate. I had a conversation. It's just not going to happen very often. But every once in a while, it is going to happen. I realize that now I do this full time now. So I do have a responsibility to try to find out some information that you don't already have. And so I had a conversation. I did have one yesterday talking about conference realignment. And the gist of it was, I think, the top of the Pac-12 is going to head to the Big Ten, is what the strong inclination is from people out west. And Oregon and Washington were always the first two that appeared would follow suit. And the thought is that Stanford is very much attractive to the Big Ten because it fits the strong academics. They don't have a big brand. They don't, well, in the Olympic sports they do, but in terms of football, which is the only thing that really matters, they don't. It's a small school. They don't have a huge alumni base. You're not really conquering any huge part of the country, although you are dipping into Northern California, which USC and UCLA are certainly Southern California. I'm not here for a geography lesson, but that's very obvious. Now, there's a report from Brad Crawford of 247 today that corroborates what I heard yesterday, that Oregon, Washington, and Stanford could collapse the Pac-12. He throws Cal into this mix. The person I talked to yesterday did not seem to think that Cal was in the mix. That's not a significant enough pull. This person thought that Utah seemed to be more attractive to the Big Ten. It's a different state. You've got some religious ties there that maybe some people that have left Utah still feel like that Utah is their school. BYU obviously more so, but that BYU-Utah game is the holy war. So if you're an LDS person, maybe Utah is somebody you're drawn to, even if you don't necessarily live there or don't live there anymore. So there's some sort of a national attraction there too a little bit. But I think that makes a lot of sense if the Big Ten wants to continue to expand out west. And if you pull Oregon, Washington, Stanford, Utah, USC, and UCLA, you really do have a huge footprint in terms of your television contract and your negotiations. And it just makes more sense now that you've tied USC and UCLA in to do that, in my opinion. The question is, does it make the pie big enough that you can add 4 more teams and still give everybody the same amount of money from the distribution of your television contract funds? That is something that's over my head economically. I can't estimate that. I don't know. That's one question. And 2, would this get Greg Sankey's eye raised and say we have to keep up? If they add and it doesn't significantly increase the pie, and so everybody kind of flattens off at that number that they're all going to get, in the SEC, if your schools are still getting the same as they're all getting, there's no real reason to go try to grab somebody else. But there's just a lot of moving parts to that. But the one part that's not moving, it just is if Oregon, Washington, Stanford, Cal, Utah, that whole crew leaves the Pac-12, it no longer exists.
Well, to answer the first part of that question, I think they just did the deal till 2030. So whatever school gets added to this conference, the pie is going to be lesser for every school, and so they can't really negotiate again until 2030. So as many schools you add to it, there's going to be less revenue to go around for all the teams. And as far as the SEC goes, I kind of teased this during Lee Toss over the summer. And it's that I just see there just being maybe 2 or 3 super conferences. Like, that's where this thing is headed. And with the way the Big Ten is moving, I don't see how, the SEC wouldn't want to go add a Clemson, add a North Carolina, add one of these teams to the SEC and kind of just have these 2 super conferences battling it out. And it will just be one of the cases where the haves and the have-nots. You look at the Big 12, after all of this, it's like, what's going to be in that conference? Obviously, the Pac-12 is going to be dissolved. It's just going to be 2 or 3 super conferences in this country. So it's always about dollars. If it makes dollars, it makes sense. I think right now, it's 2022. If they add these 4 teams, it's obviously going to be a lot less to go around. But I mean, if you're the Big Ten, I think it just makes sense for you. Now, if these schools, if they're going to be making more than they're making in the Pac-12, what the Pac-12 is now, it makes sense for them as well. So yeah, I just think that's kind of where this whole thing is headed.
Here's the difference with your initial point, which is correct. In our cable world, that is totally correct. It's like the ACC teams seem kind of untouchable, because they're locked into that media rights deal, and you can't. Wait a second. What's the Bengals-Dolphins game on tonight?
Amazon Prime.
Kevin Warren picks up the phone. He says, Amazon, you want to do some Big Ten games? Yeah. Okay. What do you want to pay? And now I can make the pie bigger. I've got CBS and Fox. If I tie Amazon on top of it, now I've got a bigger pie.
And then Apple TV just jumped in that mix too as well. So now they're, putting games on Apple TV. So now you got Prime, you got Apple TV. There's a lot more avenues than there ever was to kind of, put some of this stuff on. And so, yeah, I think that's something that you definitely got to pay attention to. I haven't seen it on the college level, which, like I said, if it makes money, they're going to do it. And so, so I think, with them, I think it makes more sense if you are Oregon, if you are one of these teams, like, why are we playing in the Pac-12? There's literally no pulse in this conference. Like, there's just no eyes. And then we're on the West Coast. It's like, okay, let's start playing some of these games on the East Coast, get more eyes on our school, get that bigger, footprint like you said. And so, yeah, I don't see how this thing just doesn't continue to kind of keep rolling until everyone's like, okay, we're missing out. Let's get a part of this big pie. Let's kind of make this super conference thing that's going to be sweeping the country. It's just so weird. I just grew up just thinking the Pac-12 is way over here. ACC's way over here. Now it's just like, I don't even know what's it turning into now. It's just totally just crazy.
You know how I constantly berate Live and talk about how there's infinite amounts of money that the Saudis can throw into Live. Amazon doesn't have infinite money, but it's got a lot. Mm-hmm. And so they don't care as much about the ROI in terms of advertising in football. They just want more people to download Prime.
Mm-hmm.
So they would be willing to overpay in the short term so that you continue to log into Amazon Prime and use that in every other avenue of your life outside of watching the football game. So there is more revenue to be had there, and that's where this is going to go in the next round, I believe. You got to make this pie bigger that we keep saying. You add more players to it. And that's why when the Big Ten negotiates its rights with Fox and CBS, it grows it. And then you throw Amazon in the mix, and it's huge. And I just think if you're Greg Sankey and Amazon dumps a bunch of money into the Big Ten, you got to start knocking on that door and see how much you can get so you can go start to pry Virginia and North Carolina and whoever else may be attractive to you. Again, I know that in the middle of the season, this is not everyone's favorite thing to talk about. Almost every time I had this discussion with people, they're like, God, I just hate all this stuff. But it's relevant. And certainly LSU's future on the football field, who they play, and where they play is going to be impacted by what this next round of conference realignment does. And eventually, as we all know, this conversation ends with the complete severing of the little guy. He's just going to be thrown out to sea.
Yeah, no shot at all. And you see those, those teams trying to get into the bigger conference. You see Cincinnati. You see some of these schools. It's like, even if we do have a pulse, we do some great things. It's like we're going to get overlooked, especially when the Big Ten comes to Big Ten. It's like if USC has 1 or 2 losses, they're going to automatically get into the playoff. And so they're always going to get the short end of the stick. I mean, but that's life, and it's never going to be fair. It's just something that just got to always have to deal with.
Want to remind you to check out dropbiscuit.com. Browse our growing library of podcasts. While you're there, be sure to subscribe to Pops, Fame, You Talking to Me, For the People, Well Stated, whatever Southern flavored audio biscuit suits your fancy. That's dropbiscuit.com. When we come back, best win, worst loss on the college football and NFL slate. That's next on Hunt and Hill.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge with Hunt and Hill.
Every single day, LWCC elevates and celebrates a champion of Louisiana right here on Hunt and Hill all September long. There's just one more day. We're telling you about Metamore.
Yeah, Metamore, an institute dedicated to the study and treatment of metabolic disease and obesity, has been celebrated by LWCC as a champion of Louisiana. Located in Baton Rouge on the campus of Pennington Biomedical, Metamore is a one-of-a-kind facility joining science, clinical research, and a variety of treatment modalities under a single roof to create a world-class institute.
We know that a lot of us struggle with obesity down here in Louisiana. Metamore doing its best to fight that. And it started down here just in Louisiana, and now it's grown globally. 2,600 plus patients in 2021 used Metamore to help decrease their health risks and help them financially in their battle against obesity. Truly an awesome cause there by Metamore. We're so thrilled to tell you about them each and every day here on Hunt and Hill. If you know someone who's doing awesome work like the folks over at Metamore and we want to celebrate them as a champion of Louisiana. Go to lwcc.com/Louisiana Loyal. You can nominate someone to be a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Call Mr. Electric today for electrical repairs, upgrades, and installations.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the
NFL is back. Our coverage starts Sunday at 10 a.m. with Magnolia Bluffs Football Sunday with Jimmy Ott, immediately followed by the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders at noon, right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, time for best win, worst loss on the board for the college football slate and the NFL. I will start with my best win on the board. I think, and I've gone to the ACC a couple of times now, but I do think that it applies this week. I'm going to go with NC State, which is 4-0, number 10 in the country, at Clemson. Clemson's defense has been, quite frankly, pathetic throughout the most of this season. Uiagalelei has kind of saved them to an extent. NC State has a chance to get to the ACC conference title game and make some noise. The next 2 weeks are going to really tell their story. They're at Clemson and they're home in a game against Florida State. If you can go on the road and beat Clemson, it is legitimate to start talking about the playoff for NC State. It's not like they played world beaters. They did beat Texas Tech 27-14. They've got a veteran quarterback. We'll see what they can do on the road. I think the best win on the board in college football would be NC State, and that would set up a monster showdown at home, which would be their best home environment in years against Florida State, who's obviously ranked at this point. So I think it's NC State at Clemson.
Yeah, that's a big time game for NC State, especially Clemson. Just that defense just hasn't been quite the same since that national title. But for me, my best win is going to go to UCLA this week. They're getting Washington at home. We just talked to Pete Futek. He thinks Washington should be the Pac-12 winner. He loves their quarterback. He loves that football team. And this is kind of the team I thought that UCLA team was last year. They're undefeated right now. And so, if you can get a big win over Washington to start this season 5-0, man, you're going to see a lot of people pumping Chip Kelly. Probably still get 20,000 people at the games. But, that'd be an undefeated UCLA team with a great avenue to possibly win the Pac-12.
Yeah, I mean, look, Chip Kelly was a splash hire for UCLA. He's done a okay job. I mean, the first 3 years were not very good. COVID year, one of them doesn't really count. And then had the big start to last year when finally they filled the Rose Bowl, had all the eyes on them, and they thumped LSU, who turns out LSU fired their coach a month later and wasn't very good. And now they can't get anybody in the Rose Bowl. I mean, if you are on Twitter at all in college football land and you see some of the pictures coming out of the Rose Bowl, there is just nobody there. Nobody cares. And so, yeah, I mean, they could try. DTR is a nice quarterback, and they got Charbonnet back. It's it's a reasonably talented UCLA team based on what we've seen from them in the last 25 years. But no one cares. It's hard to get anybody to care out there. My worst loss on the college football slate. This is a little bit harsh. You're going on the road to play a top 25 team. To call it the worst loss is a bit much. It's more so for the conference and not the school. Look, Texas has lost. Oklahoma has lost. Baylor has lost. If Oklahoma State goes on the road to Waco and loses for their first loss, you start to slam the door on the Big 12. It's not slammed shut when everybody's got one loss, but it doesn't look good because that conference is frowned upon. You need your name brands to carry you, and they're not right now. So I think Oklahoma State has enough skins on the wall in the Gundy era that if they ran the table, they would get the nod.
Yep.
But you got to go beat Baylor to do it, and if you don't, that's a really bad deal. And so it certainly doesn't derail Oklahoma State's season, and they can look for a lot of great things relative to what they expect in Stillwater. But that loss would be debilitating to their resume. So Mr. Sanders at QB over there to Oklahoma State need to go to Waco and win.
Yeah, that's a big time win for them. And I think for me, Baylor, I thought they were just bottom line favorites to win, the Big 12, especially looking at how they finished last year and just what they had going into this season. But if Oklahoma State can get that win, that's going to be a big time win for them. But the worst loss for me, I got Penn State undefeated right now. Rare times Penn State goes into a season undefeated. And obviously Northwestern, they got that big win over Nebraska, baby, week 1. But they're just not good at all.
0-3 since.
Yeah, so if Penn State somehow finds a way to lose to this bad Northwestern team, to me, Fitzgerald has that great job, kind of like Kirk Ferentz and some of these other coaches in the country. Yeah, they love you. You can stink. You just have to throw in a little 9-win season every couple years, and you're good to go. But if you're Penn State and you started the season undefeated, big time, I can't even call it big time win. It's Auburn. You got the win on the road against Auburn. You're undefeated right now. You can't lose to Northwestern State. That would just totally derail their season.
I talk all the time about bumping your head on the ceiling. You've kind of done all you can do at a certain spot. I don't think James Franklin has done that at Penn State. I don't think getting to the Rose Bowl is as good as you can do. I think you can win the Big Ten at Penn State. I think you can compete in the playoffs with the big boys. I'm not going to tell you that you're a lock to beat Alabama or Ohio State. No, you're not. But I think you can have a team good enough on a given day to go in there and beat those guys in the playoff. And James Franklin hasn't quite gotten there yet. Do I think this team's going to do it? Not really. I don't think Sean Clifford is that good. I think he's a veteran. I think he's fine. But I don't think they're quite where they need to be. You lose to Northwestern, that would be a serious bummer after 2 really bad seasons in Happy Valley. All right, let's change gears to the NFL. My best win on the board for the NFL. You go down to South Florida, you get beat. Everybody's kind of shocked by it. And you collect yourself, and now you got to go to Baltimore and play Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, who can go with anybody. I think if the Bills can go to Baltimore, coming off a loss, back-to-back road wins, back-to-back road weeks, I think that would be the best win on the board in the AFC. And again, start thinking about who's getting home field, 1 seeds, that kind of stuff that could come into play here early in the season. Bills at Ravens, I think, would be the win of the day.
Yeah, anytime you look at, Super Bowl contending teams, these wins are so important. Even though it's so early in the season, you got tiebreakers you got to deal with. You got teams who are probably going to have 3 or 4 losses. And so if you can find a way to get a win over one of those Super Bowl contenders, you only think yourself later on. So, yeah, I agree with you there. That'll be a big-time win for that team. My best win, I never thought I would say this, but the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags having a pulse this year, but you're playing an undefeated Eagles team with an MVP candidate, at the quarterback. Since the Eagles just seem like they're rolling right now. They got a great run game. The quarterback plays is really, really good. So if you're Jacksonville, you're trying to earn your respect. You're trying to, get the league to kind of pay some attention, put some focus on Jacksonville, which I never thought I'd be saying right now. But if you can find a way to win this football game, only have 1 loss to start the year, you're 4-1. I think things will actually be buzzing in Jacksonville. You beat the Chargers last week when no one thought you had a chance to do. You can go beat this undefeated Eagles team. I think that'd be a huge win for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Do you give them any chance of doing that?
I got to say I do. I mean,
they spent a lot of money in the offseason.
Trevor's, to me, I always, what I say about the quarterbacks. I mean, you got to have that guy playing well. Trevor's just playing lights out right now. And so anytime you got a quarterback that's just playing well, you're going to be in a lot of football games. And so as much as I want to say, look, Jacksonville stinks. They don't have a pulse. They're not very good. They've been playing well this season. So would I be shocked if they, if this is a close game and they can possibly win it at the end? No, I wouldn't, because their quarterback is just playing well this season.
All right, worst loss on the board for the NFL for me. It just hasn't been the start that we assumed the Chargers would get off to. Mm-hmm. They're going on the road to Houston. The Texans have not won a game yet. They're 0-2-1. They've been a little bit scrappy at times. Pierce has run the ball really hard for them. Herbert's banged up for the Chargers. I don't know how bad that injury is, but he's trying to play through it. They don't need to go down to Houston and lose, because when you get outside your division, if you're in the AFC West, you need to take care of your business, especially with the lower-end teams, because when you get into division, there's nothing guaranteed in the AFC West. So the Chargers want to make the playoffs with what everybody thinks is one of the better rosters in the league. You got to take care of the bottom feeders outside your division. The Texans are that. Chargers can't go to Houston and lose.
Yeah, I mean, so many people had the Chargers this season Super Bowl candidates. It's hard not to say that. You look at that roster, so many stars, up and down that. But like I say with the NFL all the time, guys get injured, guys get banged up, and when your stars get injured and banged up, it just leaves such a hole on your roster, because it's not college. You can't just replace the 4-star for the 5-star freshman and this guy for that guy. It's just normally a huge drop-off, when you lose those stars. So I think for the Chargers, can't afford to lose to Davis Mills and the Texans. So, yeah, that's a big-time win. And I'll ask you a question for my, worst loss of the year. Do you know how many 0-4 teams have made the playoffs?
In league history?
In league history.
3.
1. It's been one team ever to do that. So I think the worst loss on the board would be the Raiders. Get the Broncos, whose offense has just not been good this season. Nope. You get them at home. There's no way you can start the season 0-4. You pretty much hang it up. That's when the fans stop showing up. That's when the people, want the head coach you just paid a ton of money to get out of town. What is this guy doing? You got all the webs. That's a team that, people are saying, like, look, they made the playoffs last year. They revamped the roster, and it's just they took that huge step back. And so you're getting the Broncos offense, to me, who's just totally struggled. They scored 11 points last week. You got to find a way to win that football game at home. So the Raiders can't afford to go 0-4.
The Raiders made the playoffs last year with a disastrous off-the-field situation. We know about Gruden. We know about Ruggs. And they still made the playoffs. And then you brought in the best receiver in the league.
Mm-hmm.
How you could back up that significantly, it's just a credit to the league. Like, it's as much as we love college football,
mm-hmm.
how Alabama shows up, Ohio State shows up, Clemson shows up, it just kind of feels a lot the same. Ole Miss is going to go 8-4, and Mississippi State's going 7-5. Like, whatever. You don't know what's going to happen in this league. I mean, it's unbelievable week to week how competitive things are. And the one thing that I thought was a really good point, Mike Delicano said this on Jimmy's show on Tuesday. He's there every single Tuesday. A lot of teams in the league feel awesome about where they are and feel like terrible about where they are. And far more often than not, those two teams are separated by one game. The Saints are 1-2, and the Jags are 2-1. The Jags think they're awesome, think it's awesome, and the Saints fans think they got to bench the quarterback and the season's over. Like, it's one game.
Yeah.
They're separated by one game. This league, that's a funny Twitter meme, but that's really true. Like, it's a week-to-week deal.
No, it is. It is a week-to-week deal. And then the emotions just swing just so much in this league because, one loss, especially late in the season, it's like, oh, we're done. And it's just, to me, I love the parody of it all. because now you got, last year, we can look last year perfectly right down the barrel. I think everyone on their power rankings had the Bengals like number 30 and they're in the season, and that's the team that makes the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure if I go look at those power rankings for the Jaguars going into this season, they probably were
Start at the bottom. Falcons, Jaguars.
Yeah, so it's just, that's the NFL, man. That's why I love it. I think, you got professionals week in and week out doing the best to provide for their families and play well at a high level. And when you got all that going with some of the best coaches in the world, you're going to get some wacky outcomes that you never probably thought you'd expect.
Come back and close it out. It's Thursday edition of Hunt and Hill.
This is Hunt and Hill on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Football season is underway, so now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's right. First bet, if you don't win, you get back $1,000. Just sign up with promo code 1045 ESPN.
I love this odds boost that FanDuel has got for tonight. Got a little local flavor here. If the Bengals cover 3.5, Jamar Chase scores a touchdown, Tyreek Hill scores a touchdown, and Joe Burrow has 200 yards. That's not that much to ask. Bengals cover 3.5, Jamar TD, Tyreek Hill TD, and Burrow throws for 200. Plus 1,200 on the parlay, boosted from plus 800. Love that tonight. And all those bets are on an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. Sign up today with the promo code 1045 ESPN. Your no sweat first bet. That's promo code 1045 ESPN. Make every moment more this season with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as a non-withdrawable free bet that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
This week on DropBiscuit.com or wherever you listen to podcasts is our new series, Pops, the Louis Armstrong story. Pops is brought to you by New Orleans & Company. Check out neworleans.com and come visit New Orleans.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that...
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Ryan Clark, Mike Triplett, our Fantasy Blitz. We take a closer look at the Auburn Tigers. Join us Thursday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt and Hill, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, hanging out here on a Thursday edition of Hunt and Hill. Packed Friday. Tomorrow, a football Friday. We'll get you our picks for the NFL, gambling picks for the SEC, preview Auburn, preview Saints Vikings, and of course get our final pick at the end of the show. That's all coming at you tomorrow. But to end today's show, we'll do what we always do and play some Take It or Leave It. I'll start. Tua didn't look so great stumbling around the field last week, but they expect him to play against the Bengals tonight. The Dolphins concussion protocol. Take it or leave it.
I'm leaving that. That's just absolutely terrible. Like, if you've watched Tua get up on the ground, stumble, okay, everything, and stumble again, and then fall on the ground, and people are carrying him off the field. What was that, 4 days ago?
Yeah.
Like, you're telling me he's good to take some hits from these linebackers and defensive ends coming after? Matter of fact, you know what? Yeah, leave him out there. Go ahead. Yeah, great. Let me change my answer, Casey. I'll take it. It's great. Great by the Dolphins.
You're now going to be named in the lawsuit against the NFL for concussion protocol. You're going to have Hill Jeremy right there on the plaintiff.
All right, here. After clinching the AL East, Yankees manager Aaron Boone, he decided to allow first baseman Anthony Rizzo to be an honorary manager for the game against the Blue Jays, where the Yankees won 8-3. Are you taking or leaving Rizzo, future manager for the Cubbies?
Take it.
I'll take
my captain, Chicago Cub for life. Won't even remember he played for the Yankees when it's all over. Cub for life, my captain. End of discussion. He might be a manager. If he wants to manage, I'd love him to be the manager of the Cubs. I think Rossi's doing a good job. But, I'll take Rizzo back as a manager. When asked about playing in their all-white uniforms that we're going to see, including helmets, Joe Burrow said he didn't care. He'd play in a trash bag if they let him. Are you taking or leaving playing an NFL game with a trash bag?
I'll probably leave that, but I love the Joey B, man. He's just locked in. He doesn't care about the white helmets, the cool visors, the fancy bands, the towels, all the swag. He just wants to go out there and just throw lasers and throw touchdowns. And obviously that week one, I know it's still sticking in his core a little bit, but I like the way he turned it around next week. So I'm expecting big things from my boy tonight. Bengals, I'm taking my Bengals tonight, and I'm expecting Joey B to have a big-time game. So, I'm all about Joey B.
What do you think about the white helmets?
I don't mind them. I think for every, switch it up, every blue moon. But for an entire season, we can't be wearing the white and black stripes. I mean, I guess there are white tigers out there, so you can make the case if you want to. But I like the orange and black, man. I'm a fan of the orange and black.
I don't care about that because, y'all know I'm really animated about LSU's uniforms. I don't think the Bengals have great uniforms, so if they want to change them up, they can. I always wish that Joe B went to, a team that had, just great classic uniforms, but didn't quite have. Although the Bengals are kind of classic because they've had them for a long time, but I wish we went to, the Bears or somebody that had just a great, the Packers, the Giants, a great NFL union, even the Cowboys. But the Bengals, it is what it is. You can wear a white helmet if you want.
All right, last one. Head coach of the Nets, Steve Nash, he said because of Ben Simmons' unique playmaking ability, he does not care if he takes a single jump shot this season. Are you taking or leaving at this point of career? Ben should probably take a few jump shots.
I'll take that. You can't play if you don't shoot a jump shot. There is no playmaking ability if you don't ever shoot because no one will guard you if you don't take a jump shot.
Yep.
It's so, gosh. I know that you got to take your guy's side and you got to give the quote, but if you don't ever shoot, they won't guard you. They'll just back up and you can't dribble or blow by anyone or create any help side defense or kick out to an open shooter. You just exist.
Look, I played a ton of pickup basketball. There's 2 words for a guy like that. Self-check. And you just leave them open. You just guard the paint. I just sit under the goal. And, hey, you have fun. If you're not going to take a jump shot, I'll just sit under the goal. We'll run a box and one on you. And hopefully, I mean, they got a lot of shooting on that team, but if Ben's never going to take a jump shot, it's, man, he at some point, I hope he starts. Like, even if they're not falling, you got to at least have the threat of taking jump. I mean, everyone's shooting threes now.
Why not go out there in the preseason and shoot 12 threes a game? What's it going to hurt?
Yeah. I mean, he shot a few, but it's just, I mean, listening to him, especially this offseason, he's at the point where he's just comfortable. Like, that's what I am. His whole excuse was every player has weaknesses, but point guards that can't shoot. Like, look, I can speak from experience watching a full season of Russell Westbrook. Please learn how to shoot. Just anything. Even a free throw. Learn something as far as shooting goes. But, hey, Ben's got to be Ben.
Bengals minus 3.5 tonight?
Hammer it.
He's hammering the Bengals minus 3.5. You heard it all here, folks. Jeremy Hill hammering the Bengals. Again, huge Football Friday tomorrow. Get you ready for the SEC slate with our gambling picks, NFL picks, and we'll go deep into LSU, Auburn, Saints, and Vikings. Very much looking forward to that. If you missed any of today's show, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Like, subscribe, rate, review, all that. We really, really appreciate it if you help us out with that. On today's show, we opened things up for the first 30 minutes talking about Auburn. Picture wasn't all that pretty. And then we talked to Jason Caldwell at 1 o'clock, and the picture that he painted as someone who covers Auburn wasn't all that pretty. So talked a little bit about Andy Dalton, who Jeremy played with at 1:30. So that's in the first hour right there in the middle. If you missed some of that, you can go catch that on demand as we mentioned. That'll do it for us here on a Thursday edition of Hunt and Hill. Jimmy Ott's Game Time coming to you tonight from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Matt Moscona is about to drive you home for 3 hours on After Further Review. Have a wonderful Thursday night, everybody. Hope you're locked into the Bengals. We need a big win. Started off a little iffy. We need to get a win. Get back on the right track here with our Cincinnati Bengals. You know, we're a Bengals show here on Hunt and Hill. We'll change the Saints tomorrow. Y'all have a great Thursday. We're back tomorrow. It's Hunt and Hill.